Welcome to the Wayne Bennett podcast, celebrating West Virginia's people, places, and the culture of Southern Appalachia. Now here's your host, Wayne Bennett.
Welcome to the Easy Come, Easy Go broadcast. This is episode 5, and just a reminder, if you want to contact us, email me at awbennett50@gmail.com, awbennett50@gmail.com. And today we're going to talk about financial stability. And I don't know whether you've heard of Dave Ramsey or not, but he's kind of a financial guru of the world. He's had a book called Total Money Maker or Makeup, and he takes an evangelical approach, financial advice. He has a radio show. He's an author. He's a businessman. And our guest today is Dave Ramsey Jr. Jeremy Bennett has had training with Dave Ramsey, and he's also offered instruction. And he's going to tell us a little bit about getting to financial peace. And welcome, Jeremy.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, I want to. We all have credit cards, and
Yes.
we have bills, and some of us are snowed under. What do we do?
Well, the very first thing that I would probably recommend to anybody, if they're wanting to make the decision to get out of debt, you really have to do 2 things. First thing I would recommend is you need to take a trip to your mirror. Now, I know right about now people are probably like, "What? Why?" The reason is because the reason you are in the financial situation that you're in is because of the person in your mirror, and it is the person in your mirror that is going to help you get out. So you basically have to get face to face with yourself. You have to have the "I've had it" moment. Like, I'm tired of living this way. I'm not going to live this way anymore. The second thing that I would recommend to anyone wanting to get out of debt is that you have to have a why. Now, Dave Ramsey's book, The Total Money Makeover, will give you the what and how, but you have to come up with your own why. With my own situation, the why for my household was, my wife wanted to give money, and typically most you're really only going to do 3 things with money. You're going to save and invest, you're going to spend, and you're going to give. And so she wanted to give money, and considering our financial situation at the time, we couldn't exactly give the way that she wanted to.
You're talking about giving money to charities or
charities, churches.
People out.
Yeah,
Okay.
You may have a family member or something like that you may want to give money to. You may know someone down the street that is in a bad way, and you want to give. So that's what started for us. Was that was our why. She wanted to give. So that's when I told her, well, I'm behind you on this, but in order for us to do that, we have to get out of debt, because we were essentially what I would call the average American household, in that we had credit card bills. Both of us had car payments, and I had a house payment at the time, because obviously whenever we got married, she moved in with me, and so those were, because we had our money tied into those things, we had to open our money up to where we could give the way that she wanted to. And let me just say to everybody out there, like I said, I named that you're really only going to do 3 things with money: save and invest, spend, and give. I can tell you firsthand, the most fun you will ever have with money is giving it. Whether there may be a church that you want to give money to, there may be a charity that you want to give money to. The most fun you will ever have with money is giving it away, and I definitely recommend that being a part of anyone's financial plan.
So how do you do that? How do you have to have money before you can give it away?
Correct. Yes. Obviously, I would, as one of Dave Ramsey's famous quotes is the best place to go whenever you're broke is to work. So obviously, I recommend everybody to work. Of course, I know with the pandemic going on, jobs are jobs are kind of scarce, but obviously you need to be working. The next thing that I would recommend to everyone is that you have to do the dreaded B word. And no, I'm not talking about that B word. I'm talking about a budget written out every time you get paid, because one thing that happens with households is you don't really know where your money goes. So if you're writing everything out on paper on purpose before the month begins, you know exactly where your money goes, you know how much money that you have left, and then from there you can start working the baby steps.
And what's the baby steps?
How
many are there?
There's 7. Now the baby steps were originally started by a gentleman by the name of Larry Burkett, and he was I believe he was a pastor at the time, and that is where Dave got the 7 baby steps from, and what they are is, baby step 1 is that you save $1,000 in a savings account. Some households will already have that.
Okay, let's save $1,000.
Yes.
Now, in a savings account.
Correct.
And how does this in a certain period of time, or?
Typically, you will knock out baby step 1 usually within it shouldn't take more it shouldn't take more than a couple months. Obviously, I know that people have different financial situations. Typically, baby step 1 should not actually take more should not take more than a couple months. Now, I will say, baby step 1 on paper is the easiest baby step out of all 7, but it is also the hardest, because you are essentially making a commitment to do this, and little things will actually come up to where to question whether you want to do this or not. But like I said, most people generally already have some kind of money sitting in a savings account, generally.
So some people, of course, may make an excuse that, I'm barely paying the bills from month to month anyway. It's hard for me to save anything. But by creating a budget, they actually know where their money actually is and actually how much they do have.
Correct. And whenever you're doing your budget, you have to start by taking care of what is commonly called the four walls. The very first thing that should come out of your budget before you do anything is food. You have to eat. Second thing that needs to come out of your budget is, if you have a house payment, you have to pay that. You have to make sure that the lights and water are on. Next thing that needs to come out of your budget, you got to put gas in your car, because obviously you got to have transportation to get to work. If you have a car payment, you got to make sure that that's paid. Obviously, car insurance. Clothing, whenever you're trying to get out of debt, you got to keep the clothing minimal. So obviously going to like consignment shops or things like that is obviously what's recommended. And then the last thing to come out of your budget is, most people carry cell phones nowadays, so obviously you got to make sure that the cell phone bill is paid, and most of us have internet and a television, so obviously make sure that those things are paid. Generally, if you take care of the four walls, there is typically money left. So based on whatever is left, that's when you start working the baby steps. The other thing you can do to really get the baby steps going is sell stuff. Sell so much stuff that the kids think they're next, and the dog and cat go in hiding because they're afraid they're after. I can honestly tell you that my middle daughter was honestly afraid that's what we were going to do was sell one of them, because we were selling so much stuff whenever we were trying to get out of debt. But like I said, baby step 1 is $1,000. Baby step 2 is you're listing your debts smallest to largest by amount. You're listing your debts smallest to largest, and you're paying minimums on everything except for the first debt. You use all of your extra money once your bills are paid, and you're attacking the first debt, and then you take the money that you were paying on the first debt. Once the first debt's gone, you use it for the second one, and you keep going till to create a snowball effect. Now, your house payment, your house is not in baby step 2. That's actually taken care of at a different step. Usually, the last debts for most people is either a car or a student loan. So think about the possibilities of paying $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on paying your car off, or paying a student loan off. Typically, baby step 2 takes about 18 to 24 months on average. Some people will get out of debt faster depending upon income. Some people will take longer, especially if student loans are involved.
So you're talking about paying all your debts without not counting a house payment.
Correct.
Okay, and let's go back to creating a budget just a second.
Okay.
When some people say that they don't have any money left over.
Yes.
There's ways of saving. A list that I saw that was cutting down on groceries.
Yes.
And buying generic, skipping restaurants, eating out.
Yes.
And you mentioned phone.
Yeah.
You can lower your phone bill.
Yes.
Those kind of things.
Yeah. You really want to do everything that you can to lower your bills so that you have money to throw at your debts. Now, obviously, there are some things that you cannot control. You really can't control how much your power bill is. You can't really control how much your water bill is, because a lot of times those are more fixed things than anything else. But like with phone, internet, television, there's all kinds of cheaper options now. Like Suddenlink, as a good example, you're usually paying out the butt for television. Whereas there's subscription services such as Hulu and Netflix to where you can still watch movies and things of that nature. But yeah, you definitely want to cut down your budget as much as possible. Now, another thing with doing a budget and with getting out of debt is both spouses. This is really important. Both spouses have got to be on board. One of the things that I can honestly admit to is that I actually found Dave Ramsey years earlier with my first marriage, and what ended up happening is in instead of me trying to get on board with my first wife, I basically came in and I had this new knowledge of information, and I basically came in and I just railroaded her with all this information. Hey, we're getting out of debt, we're selling our car, we're doing this, we're doing that. And because of that, she was not on board, and that did cause some issues. So what I wanted to do with in my second marriage was I wanted there to be communication between my wife and I, to where, yeah, I had this thing where I wanted to do Dave Ramsey's plan, but I wanted her to be on board, because obviously, if your spouse is not on board, you're not going to be successful with this.
Yeah, that's pretty true about everything.
Yes,
which stay married.
Right, which the one thing that I found is that if you are communicating about your money, that also leads to communication about other things, because for whatever reason there are just some things that spouses will not communicate about.
Okay.
But if you're communicating about your money, like I said, that leads to conversations about other things.
All right, I've saved $1,000 for emergencies. I've got a budget.
Yes.
And I've started paying off my debts, smallest first.
Yes.
And now what do I do?
All right. So once you've gotten your first baby steps, we go back to baby step one, the $1,000 that we started with. And you're going to save 3 to 6 months of expenses in that same savings account. So, on average, you're going to have anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 sitting in this, sitting in this account. It is there strictly for emergencies. And what this does is, the emergency fund will turn what should be a crisis into an inconvenience. Like, say your heat pump goes out, you'll have the money to write the check, get it replaced, and it won't even be a blip on the radar. Whereas whenever you didn't have a plan, you're losing your mind, you're wanting to pull your hair out, like how in the world am I going to pay for this? That's what basically what the emergency fund is it is a wall between you and life, basically. And even if life does happen to get through, you've got that cushion there.
Okay, and if you got laid off from your job or whatever,
right,
you
which
still pay your bills,
right,
until you found some gainful employment. And okay, you've got your emergency fund set up. What do you concentrate on now?
All right, so baby step 4, which one of the things that you'll need to do in order to work the first 3 baby steps, and this is going to sound crazy to most people, you have stopped contributing to your retirement in all this. I know that some people will lose their minds over that. That was sort of a battle in the beginning with my wife and I. Was she didn't want us? She didn't want either one of us to stop contributing. But once she came around to that, because I told her as soon as we're out of debt, we can start contributing again. So baby step 4. You are contributing 15% of your income into retirement, and most places do offer 401ks. Obviously, if your place of employment offers a Roth 401k, that's probably the first place that I would start. But you start with a 401k. If you have met the maximum contribution that you can with that, obviously there's a Roth IRA that I would recommend. If you own a small business, you are able to contribute to this thing called a SEP, self-employed private pension that you can also contribute money to. There's all kinds of avenues for an individual today to retire on.
That's 15%.
Yes.
You know, a lot of people don't have retirement at their work, and you know they would have to do it on their own.
Yes.
And that's a good suggestion with the IRAs and stuff. But you can't make it on Social Security.
Correct.
And
yes.
Social Security the original design was not to be a retirement program anyway.
Yeah.
And so people have to realize that, and with the cost of living, you've got to have some type of retirement. And believe me, the older you get, the more important it becomes.
Yes.
But if the earlier you start,
the
better it is.
Typically, most people work on average till they're 65. So if you're contributing from let's say 25 to 65, that's 40 years worth of retirement that you've put money into. And even if you're just contributing, as an example, if you're just contributing the amount of money that you're paying on your car or on your truck or whatever the case may be, that's going to add up to a lot of money at retirement. Now, you may end up having so much money that whenever you do eventually pass, because let's just be honest about this, statistics prove one out of one die, unless the good Lord comes back. None of us are getting out of here alive. That's money that you can leave to your spouse or to your children. So, like I said, 15% into your retirement accounts. Baby step 5 is if you have children, because I know there are people that make the decision to not have any for one reason or another. Baby step 5 is that you're contributing to your kids' college. Obviously, depending upon when you're starting, you may not be able to get to do that because you may have kids that are getting ready to go into college. So most people do end up generally skipping baby step 5. And baby step 6, remember I told you that we were going to take care of the house at a different step. Baby step 6 is you're paying off your house. I can honestly sit here and say that was the biggest thrill, or one of the biggest thrills for me was paying off the house and no longer having a house payment. And I highly recommend this to anybody. Whenever you make that last house payment, I highly recommend going outside, taking your socks and shoes off, and walking around in your grass barefoot. It is going to feel differently with knowing that grass in your front yard is actually yours. So
yeah, and a lot of people now, especially nowadays, the interest rate is very low.
Yes.
Who knows how long that's going to last?
Yes.
But the house, and that's an investment. When
Yes.
you pay your house off, it's something you can get equity in, and it's quite an investment.
Yeah. Most financial experts like Dave Ramsey, Clark Howard, most of them will tell you the only debt that you will never get yelled at for is going into debt for a house, and that is largely because houses, as time goes on, usually go up in value, whereas like a car is an example, it the value of that goes down like a rock, which is the reason why Chevy had that as a car commercial for the longest time in the 90s. But typically a house will go up in value. House is actually going to be one of the biggest investments that you make over time.
Well, before we get to the last baby step, let's go back just a second. How do you I know you don't encourage credit cards. How do you cancel a credit card? I mean, and that would probably, hopefully, that's one of your small
Yes, typically that will be one of the smallest things. Let me say this on credit cards. I do know that having a credit score does affect certain insurances, such as your car insurance and house insurance. So I understand why most people would keep credit cards. But how you go about canceling it, which the only time that I would ever recommend canceling it is once you've paid the car off, the card off. You call you call the financial institution that you got the bank from, and you basically say, look, this has a zero balance. I don't ever plan on using credit cards again. Could you please cancel it? You will get a little bit of a hassle because I did, but once you've pretty much made up the mind that you're not going to use one anymore, or maybe like there's a thing where like you've had 7 credit cards and you just want to keep one, you will have to deal with a customer service, but generally you will get a little bit of a hassle. But yeah.
And what about when you're saving money? Do you recommend a savings account or a certificate of deposit or a?
Dave Ramsey calls certificate of deposit certificate of depressions. So
I've heard that, or disappointment.
Yes, but the two things that Dave recommends is you either use a savings account, or you can use a money market account with check writing privileges. Because again, the whole point of this is only to use it in case of emergencies. So you won't be using it very often. Now please do not get fancy with the emergency fund. It's not really an investment. It's insurance, basically, to protect you from, like I said, your car engine going out, or a job loss, or things of that nature.
Okay, we're kind of getting a little short on time. What's the last baby step?
Baby step 7 is you are to build wealth and give. Like I said, the 3 things that typically you will do is either spend, save, and give. Baby step 7 is when you can finally, like if you build up enough wealth, you can go buy that new car, or go take that nice exotic vacation, or things of that nature. Obviously, you want to find things to give money to. I've given money to military things because I have family members and friends that are ex-military people. Obviously, we've given money to the church. Baby step 7 is when you can finally sort of live in a way, because and baby step 7 is also when you can make the decision to, if you want to start a new business, if you want to go work in a different field, you can do those things because you're out of debt and you'll have money to do those options. Okay, one word. Okay. Insurance, term or whole life? I would highly recommend term. You'll want to do 20-year level terms. I believe it's 10 times your income, and you definitely want life insurance in place to take care of your funeral expenses whenever you do pass away, but also to leave money to your family whenever you're gone, because they may still be working and they may still need the money at the time. So yes, I highly recommend term life insurance. Okay, we're going to get Jeremy back in the future. We're going to talk about investing and insurance and those kind of things, but this is a 30-minute show. There was a quote that I saw from Dave Ramsey. I think it's and it kind of emphasizes it's not that easy, but work is doing it
discipline is doing it every day, and diligence is doing it well every day.
Yes.
And if we live by that, I think we will all have financial peace. And until next time, remember, if you ain't dead yet, you ain't done yet. And this is the Easy Come, Easy Go broadcast. We thank Jeremy Bennett. And until next week, thank you.